guys, it is Amen95 here, back with another video, and today we're actually going to be doing maintenance. Something new, something I haven't done in a while. We're going to be doing maintenance on my Norfolk & Western 608, which in the past I have incorrectly called the daylight, which is not true. Do not take my word for it if I ever say it. That's just me being an idiot. Alright, so this is a Bachmann split chassis, same as my Prairie. It also has a smoke unit. So, a lot of greasy stuff gets everywhere, basically, which is not ideal. It does run smoothly, but I do get, stuff just gets everywhere. So, I'm just going to go ahead and get started. So, I'm going to put it in my workbench and take off the shell, so I have the chassis. With these old Bachmanns, this one isn't super old, but still in that time frame, you gotta make sure you do maintenance on these split chassis, or else it just won't run properly, and you'll run into a few issues later on. One thing is that the plastic in between the axles will crack, and that's what I'm actually checking for right now. Looks like we're good. And also, another thing, this used to be plastic, and there's a plastic piece right there. That's one of the parts that commonly breaks, apparently, and definitely broke on this one. This front screw does seem very oddly not tight, but oh well. Also missing a screw right there, so I'm going to have to most likely replace that. Let's take off the screw and look at what we got right here. Pop that up. Let's open it up. Alright. Put that there. I'm going to have to clear it off because I got dust on it, obviously. Alright. Yep. Got a nice crack starting right there. I don't think you'll see it right there. Definitely going to make sure I put some super glue on that. Got a good deal of stuff on this axle, some black stuff. Now, one thing I will say, if you are cleaning, I would use something like proper track cleaner or nail polish or isopropyl alcohol. I would not just use water. Water won't dissolve the grease. I've heard someone use dish soap. I don't know how well that would work, but it's definitely an idea. So I want to make sure I get as much of this stuff off as I quite possibly can, and hopefully, yeah, I'm seeing another few cracks right there. So like I said, one thing to look out for is cracks with these split chassis. I'm definitely going to put some super glue on the inside of these over the mid plastic point on those wheels. Make sure they'll last a bit longer. So I'm noticing a good bit of not grease or oil, but smoke fluid, used smoke fluid down here, which I do believe was the time that I ridiculously overfilled the smoke unit and then accidentally turned it upside down, which was lovely, as you can imagine. Okay. One thing I noticed is this back wheel is back to being completely black. So this time, make sure I clean out the bearing and the chassis. Get a good bit with that one. Also, you want to make sure you change your Q-tip frequently. Something that is very important, and that is because if you do not, you're just going to be spreading more grease around, which definitely don't want to do. It just either creates a mess, or if you, say, get a piece of something sharp and hard stuck on one of these Q-tips from cleaning it, accidentally goes into a bearing, that's it. That's, if you don't realize and it runs for a decent amount, that bearing's toast. I can guarantee that. So I'm noticing bearing's pretty dirty. With these Bachmann split chassis, you really don't need lubricant in the bearings. I see a lot of people put oil in these bearings. Yes, you want a layer, and you want it to be so it will move freely, but you don't want to be it so it's actually lubricated like you would lubricate a locomotive with bearings but not picking up through them. Just because if you're lubricating basically that would be lubricating the contact points. So you're going to be interrupting that electrical flow then, which is what will cause it to short out or not make contact. It's just simple stuff like that. And I mean, my friend has a Rudolph Express, one of those fancy ON 3-gauge train sets. That is very nice, but he never lubricated it, and it runs, it loves that. I went and then maintenanced it. At first it ran pretty bad, so I took it apart again and took out a bit of that lubrication, and it ran beautifully, absolutely beautifully. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Make sure these little rods are not pointing down so they fit in. That's looking very, very good. Alright. What I will recommend for this is take something, I'm going to use the used Q-tip, and put it down the center line, the axle, so it holds it all up. And start with what's on the top. Just a very small amount, spread it around. Of course, you just want it on the plastic piece, not on the metal piece. Definitely not on the metal piece. Repeat, not on the metal piece. I cannot stress that enough. Definitely cannot. Alright, so now that that's good, I'm actually going to start, because with these smoke units, they do tend to do what I call a sneaky suspicion. And basically that comes from, I noticed a lot of stuff was getting everywhere on my locomotive, and it wasn't oil, it was this weird, gross sort of green stuff. And I was trying to figure out what it was for the longest time. And then I had a sneaky suspicion it might be the smoke unit. Well, took out the smoke unit, ran it without for a long time, and compared the insides to with the smoke unit, and lo and behold, they were much, much cleaner, much, much better. Sometimes, I will say, just if it's certain locomotive that really just isn't going to work good with that smoke unit, just go ahead and take it out. It's going to be more hassle in the end, so it'll be easier. Alright, so one thing I'm noticing is on this side, this piece, oh, it's on both sides, this piece is loose, and it's rotating on that side and not on this side, so it needs to be able to stay in place on that side. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is, once these wheels dry, I'm going to take and slide that piece out, clean it out, because if you do put super glue with the smoke fluid in there, it won't work, really won't. It just doesn't work. So get back when we do that. Okay, so I learned something. I'm impatient. So I basically just lifted, move my iPad out of the way, lifted the chassis up and out of the shell, and looking on the inside of the shell, we do have some stuff. Definitely want to make sure you do clean the inside of the shell, even though it's not really a moving part and it's not getting into the motor. Most likely, most of your stuff will be actually coming from the inside of the shell when you're cleaning it. All that stuff isn't coming from the engine and the motor and stuff. It's coming from the inside of the shell, slowly making its way down into the motor. One thing I'm noticing is the part for the front screw is a bit messed up. I don't like that, so what we're going to do is, to prevent it from breaking, screw in our screw here. Super glue on that. And then I'll unscrew the screw, and the super glue will basically fill in the gap, plus make sure it doesn't break too much more. I'll preserve it in a way. Just making sure I don't have more stuff on the inside of the shell. I want to get as much stuff as I can. Also, I'll look at the outside of the shell, just carefully holding it up in the air, cleaning off wires on the outside. This is just a preference for me because I want it to look as best as it can. Alright, put that to the side. Now we're going to take our chassis, I'll put it back in the bed. I don't know if the wheels have dried. Sort of. This one's stuck to the Q-tip. Alright, well, I'm gonna let this all dry for a bit and be back then. Alright, so we're back. I've taken the time to let the glue dry, had to do a bit of sanding to make sure. I also took and glued this in place. While I was doing that, I noticed a good deal of grease all on the inside here. It should not be there, so I'm gonna clean that off. Well, there's a good deal of other stuff, apparently. So yeah. Just quickly clean that off while I can find. This is a die-cast chassis, so I want to make sure it is clean and there's nothing that could corrode it. And then I'm gonna wait more for that glue to dry. Boy, I hate waiting. Okay, so I once again have learned that I utterly and completely hate waiting for the super glue to dry. So I'm gonna look for my flathead bit for my screwdriver and try to pry out this piece a bit. Just enough so enough. Slide the bulb out, doesn't break anything. Alright, bulb's out. That's good, I'm gonna put that there. This is just covered in stuff, so I'm just gonna actually get a good bit on the bottom. Rolling around in isopropyl alcohol, hopefully, to get some of this grease off of it. More isopropyl alcohol on my thing. Clean out the inside where the bulb would be housed, as well as, if I can, carefully the top of the smoke unit. Looking at the grease inside here, this grease has gotten very old, so, like, it's not bad, it's just old. It's gotten stuff in it, so it's become more of a paste, which we don't really want, so I've cleared out a good bit of it, and I'm gonna take some of my handy-dandy industrial Ote silicone grease and take this nice big glob. It's pretty big worm gear in there. I want to make sure I get a good amount. I'll just spread all on that worm gear. Get all in the transmission. Now that should be good. Should be more than enough grease for a good while. So, yeah, we will get back once this glue has dried, and hopefully have reassembled it by then. Yeah. So, see you then. Alright, so we're back, and it's a whole new day. So first off, yeah, that has dried, and so has all the super glue on the wheels, so that can safely go back on. So that's all good. I've put grease in the motor, that I know of for sure. Right now, just looking down the top, see if there's anything that needs to be taken into account. There is a bit, and just, like I said, cleaning it off. I want to make sure I get as much out, because once again, the chassis is the major electrical system for this. I'm going to get a wipe down on the top. Do be careful, you can get stuff, some of the cotton stuck on little burrs. It didn't all work. Also looking at the smoke unit, making sure everything looks good in there. This one does use a very avid smoke unit that loves to make tons of smoke, enough so you can't breathe. Right. So yeah, now that that is all cleaned off, I'm thinking it should be time to reassemble. So I'm gonna take this here, flip these over again, and turn this around. Slide this back in, which should be. Make sure I got all the drive arms in the right place. Doing once more last over, making sure everything's good. I did notice there is a hole here for a screw, like this hole, but there isn't a thing to screw it into, so that's odd. Alright. Gotta remember I do have that screw in the front that I use for the fixing the cracked screw housing in the front. Make sure all this is good. Over it doesn't get profusely covered in the oil. Actually, now looking at these, making sure everything looks good, which it does. Alright, let's just popping this back on, line that up, put this through. Put that down in. This all down in. That on there. That's on. Oh, forgot to put on the light. Oh, well, put it on after I screw the bottom on. Take a screw and put it in here, up. Right now, quickly put on the light. To do that like a bad boy, a bad child. Alright. Light plug, small piece of plastic that's hard to see. Make sure that's put in. It's in, that's in. Alright. Now that's all done. Make sure this once again lines up with the thing. It's not wanting to. Yeah, that's popped up again. Sorry for the background noise. Once again. Getting low battery signal on my phone. That's popped in. That's all popped in. Alright, awesome. I'm actually going to do the back one with my janky homemade coupler first, because I find it goes together better if you put it in first this way. I do not honestly understand why it has such an issue with sitting down on the part in the back, but it does, so I will screw this in super tight enough to hold it together, and this rotates loose. So okay, so some interruptions and fiddling with the front screw later. I have the front screw in. Super glue seems to have done a really good job. I don't have the shell falling off like it used to. Once over looking at the running gear, making sure everything looks good. Especially looking at this part. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear the inner loop and move these out of the way. Put this down. I probably should have waited to put on the shell and tested it before. I'm pretty confident that it'll run. Haven't done any major changes or anything. So we will do, let's just put these in. Yeah, that runs. Not wanting to. So just trying to get that lubricant in and through right now. So I haven't gotten this back really on the track properly. A lot more throttle than it was. There we go. Seeing the remainder smoke fluid burning up and coming out the chimney, so also seeing some residue on the top here, so just cleaning it off. Oh yeah, there's a ton of stuff up there. So, just to look nice, presentable. We're gonna make sure we get these grills good. Alright, that looks good. Alright, so I'm gonna just let this run around. Noticing this seems to be flopping everywhere. I'm gonna make it a bit tighter. Okay, well that's as tight as it goes. Done, like, back O's are really not happy. I don't know what this wheels are so indented, it's hard to tell. Either way, it runs. I'm happy. And it runs a lot better than it did before. Not, when I say a lot, I don't mean a lot. I mean a noticeable increase. I need to go screaming about, but enough to be happy about. What I'm doing right now is getting everything once over. Getting the keys and stuff. And if everything looks good, probably shouldn't be doing this with ice purple alcohol. I'm sure someone will be screaming at me for this I've ruined a perfectly good model. Leave residue. Find if I just go wipe it down. That residue, more often than not, disappears. It makes it look a good deal better and cleaner than it was. Yeah, it's showing up on the front. Get clean cotton. It's got a wet end. Let's see. Here we go. Make sure. Another thing you could do is you could probably. Oh, and I just broke a belt. That wasn't great, Alexander. I'll have to glue that back on, but I don't mind. Allow me to clean in there so the belt doesn't bend and sway like it did before. Scrubbing this residue off. This residue is the evaporating isopropyl alcohol. What I'm scrubbing and doing is spreading that residue over a larger amount of area, creating a less noticeable, or a very less noticeable, almost invisible to the human eye, but I'm sure if you got this thing under a microscope, you would definitely notice it. You can also put some oil on this cotton swab when you're rubbing it, and it'll give it a glossy effect. Not very glossy, of course. If you wanted to achieve that, it would be a process of doing and repeating the scrubbing over time, but this does help obtain a good portion of the glossy effect. If you do it right, you gotta make sure you get a good amount of pressure. It just stays on there, and it's hard to notice. When you do give it a good amount of pressure, it makes it look a lot better. That's a lot of work, and it can possibly ruin your models over time. I'm only doing it because I haven't seen any effects, and most likely I'm going to regret it, but oh well. Noise. Clean it. It's a gorgeous model, but it's not as priced as the Flying Scotsman. The Flying Scotsman, I would not typically do this unless I was for sure I won't get bad adverse effect, which I do know it won't happen on my Flying Scotsman, because I have researched that topic. So, alright, so I've made sure I've gotten most stuff, residue off. Looks a lot better, a lot cleaner. So, yeah, hope y'all enjoyed today's video. Hit the like button and subscribe. I'll most likely do a running session with this locomotive and my River Rossi in the next video. So, hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.